Hi, welcome to Mother Matthew's Kitchen. Molly and I are going to make chicken cutlet parmesan. Your ingredients for chicken parm are really simple. I'm using 4 chicken breasts, 1 onion, a couple of cloves of garlic, a can of Italian plum-style tomatoes, Italian-style breadcrumbs, some fresh oregano. If you don't have fresh, you can use dried, 1 egg, some olive oil, salt, pepper, and some secret ingredients which we'll tell you about later. First, start chopping my onions. You don't want them too small. Remember, I've got 1 medium-sized onion. And we're going to make our own gravy today. If you like, you can use that stuff in the jar, but I don't recommend it because this is such a simple, easy way to make a nice marinara for your cutlets. It doesn't pay to buy anything in a jar. So my onions are ready. And then I'm going to work on my garlic. I like to cut it into little thin slices. Leave it whole. And there we go. Using fresh oregano. Chop it up first. Be quiet. That little chop there, get it minced up nice. And we're just about ready to go. The first step in preparing our recipe today is to make a nice marinara. Very simple, very quick. I don't use the stuff in the jar. I don't recommend you do. So just follow along with me. It's really simple. So what I'm going to do first is get a medium flame going. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And I don't measure, I eyeball. And I recommend you do. That's the art of cooking. In go the onions. And you let that simmer until they're about translucent. About 3 to 5 minutes. Get them coated with oil, let them go. Now I don't like to add the garlic until the onions are about halfway through because garlic tends to burn, and when it burns it gets bitter. My onions are translucent, so now it's time for the garlic. I'm going to add 3 cloves for me. You can add 2, 1, or none, but I recommend for you garlic lovers out there, add about 3 or 4 cloves and let them simmer along with the onions for a few minutes, 2 or 3 more minutes. Then we're going to add our tomatoes. But before we do that, I'm going to add my fresh oregano. Mix that up. And lady, did I forget my secret ingredient? Mother Matthew always recommends a shot of anchovy paste in your gravy. Makes a wonderful addition, giving it a nice rich flavor. So let's mix that up and let that saute for another 2 or 3 minutes, keeping an eye on it. We don't want anything to burn in here. And then we'll add our tomato. Onion and garlic is ready, so I'm going to add 1 can of whole plum Italian style tomatoes. Get those mixed up in there. I'm going to break up the tomatoes a little. Get all that good stuff out of there. And then, what I like to do is use my immersion blender and just chop up those tomatoes a little bit. I like my sauce a little on the chunky side, so I'm not going to really puree it. Just going to make sure all of the big chunks are broken up. That looks pretty good. It's good for now, so we're going to let that simmer, and then we'll season her up. I'm going to throw in my seasoning. So I'm going to use about a half a teaspoon of salt, some fresh ground pepper, and a pinch of sugar just to take off the acidity. We'll mix that up, let those flavors blend, and we're going to simmer that now for about a half hour to 45 minutes while we prepare our cutlets. We've got our marinara going, so the next step is to prepare the cutlets. So what I like to do is layer them on some wax paper and then pound them down a little bit, make them a little bit thinner, and they become more tender. Very simple. Got a little mallet here, and I just pound them down. That makes them a little tender, a little thinner when you fry them. They're good to go. To prepare your cutlets, I'm using Italian-style breadcrumbs, so I layer a plate. And I use one lightly beaten egg. I'm just going to beat her a little bit. Then you're going to dip each cutlet into the egg and the breadcrumbs. Let them rest a few minutes. And you're going to fry them up in some nice Italian olive oil. So I take a cutlet, dip her in the egg, and coat it with breadcrumbs. Get it nice and evenly coated, make sure all the areas are filled. Just let that rest on a bowl. Cutlets are ready and ready to be fried. So what I'm going to do is get a medium flame going, and I'm going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil and let that warm. Give it a swirl, and we don't want to add our cutlets until the oil is hot. Once the oil's ready, fry up your cutlets. Now we're going to fry these until they're golden brown and cooked thoroughly. The cutlets are ready. I'm going to remove them to a paper-lined plate to drain off the oil. So of course for chicken parm, you need mozzarella. I prefer to use fresh mozzarella, so I'm going to slice up some for our topping. I'm going to try to make relatively thin slices, which we're going to place right on top of the chicken as we bake it. Now, you have to bake your chicken parm for about 30 minutes at a 350 degree oven. I'm going to use my little toaster oven today, make it simple. We're going to get our cutlets ready for baking. I'm going to layer some of our fresh marinara right into the pan. I'm going to layer my cutlets evenly, close together. Get them even as best as you can. Alright, let's do it this way. Season with a little salt and pepper. And I'm going to add mozzarella to cover the top. Now, fresh mozzarella is great. You can eat it plain. I just love it. And I like to put it on the bottom, meaning cover it with sauce so that it doesn't burn. Now I get a good healthy layer of sauce on top of that. Now my toaster oven is heating to 350. So you can do this in the big oven if you like, but if you got a nice toaster oven, it holds the temperature nicely. And look at that. Now one last trick. The last trick is add a little layer of pecorino romano cheese right on top. That'll give it a great flavor. You're just about ready now for our toaster oven. Chicken parm is done. It's been in there about 30 minutes. Ready to come out and cool. Now you can serve this chicken parm with a side of salad, pasta, garlic bread, and a great Chianti or a Cabernet Sauvignon. So until next time, Mother Matthew says, good eats!